right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 306 Fantasy Football Podcast. We're real excited here because we are finally to week episodes. That obviously means the off season is dwindling. It is just about done. We are in preseason, and we are in the thick of it here. We're going to be going once a week to help give you some information, get you guys ready to go for draft season, and obviously that means the season is right around the corner. So. Before we get started here, might as well say hello to the fellas. We'll go to Zach here. He was away from us the last episode, so we'll go to him first. Zach, what's been keep you busy here the last little bit?
Yeah, so like you said, I was away, and we got back on Friday late at night. Got back from BC. My wife and I and a couple of friends went to Revelstoke, went to Kelowna. So. Despite the smoke, we had a really good time, and it sounds like we got out of there just in time, as every time I turn the TV on, it's looking more and more unfortunate there. So hopefully everybody there is taking care of themselves and doing what they need to. But I'm happy to be home. It's my favorite time of year. One of my favorite times of year. School's coming back, and it's draft time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're pumped. Boys are ready to go here. So we'll throw it to Armin, and then we'll kind of get ourselves rolling. Armin, what's been keeping you busy the last little week?
I had my first rugby game in 2 years, and oh man, I was sore the next day. The legs felt like jelly, but man, it felt good to get back out there and throw the ball around and tackle a few people. Your body definitely doesn't forget what it feels like, but it was a good time and loved every minute of it, and definitely ready to go again. I got a game here coming up tomorrow, so I guess we're dropping on Wednesday, so I got a game tonight.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so hopefully Whiskey Jacks here in our local team in PA, we can go 4-0 here and continue our winning streak.
Right on. Man, talking about soreness, I can relate to that. I had as a ref in the Freddie Sasakimus tournament this past week, and usually the tournament is at the end of the season around like March, kind of April area there. But they obviously missed it because of COVID, so they wanted to have the season or have their tournament to start the season. So my first skates in about 11 months, and I worked, I think it was 16 games in 3 days, and I had taken almost a full day off for a wedding on Saturday. So my feet are real sore. Like it's pretty bad, but
nice. The dogs are barking.
Oh yeah. The dogs are barking. Kevin Malone put my feet in the ice bath or in the ice machine in the hotel on Saturday night. Oh man, there's something else, but excited to be back on the ice, but even more excited for fantasy season, obviously going here. We just sent out the messages to everybody. Obviously it was a little bit delayed. I said it was going to be on Saturday, but with the wedding and with reffing everything kind of got put on the back burner, unfortunately, for a day or two, but sent out all the messages. What day is it today? So we'll be dropping on Wednesday. We're recording Tuesday. Sent everybody around noon or 1 o'clock on Tuesday. So we're just waiting to confirm everybody that was lucky enough to get drawn and entered into the league. And once we have that, those confirmed names, we can share those names on the pod and let everybody know a little bit about who they are, where they're from, and who's all involved in the inaugural charity league. And we're real excited for that among our 15 other drafts we have coming up here. It's a busy time of year, but we're really excited to get it going. So kind of just a little bit of housekeeping stuff here, you guys. When, like we mentioned, we are once a week here. So these next couple episodes getting into draft season is all going to be stuff that's going to help you prep your leagues. Talking a lot of ADP, obviously going back from last week's episode, we started diving into ADP quite seriously. We're going to be looking at guys, kind of the middle rounds where the tough decisions are kind of getting there, where maybe some of the guys that we're targeting that maybe are getting slept on a little bit that can help you out with a little bit of value. We also have an episode that we're talking about that we're going to certify our guys that we're not leaving drafts without. But this week, this is gonna be a fun one. This was thrown onto our plate pretty last minute, but I really love this idea. We're just gonna kind of look at some names to talk about whether we're gonna be buying or selling them. But we're putting a spin on it here. We're doing what's called Fantasy Football Tinder. So for those of you at home that are unfamiliar with Tinder, it's a dating app where people can put up their pictures in a short profile, and you just swipe. If you swipe left, you don't like them. If you swipe right, you're hoping to match with them. If you both swipe right, you match up, you message them, and that's basically Tinder in a nutshell. So us three are going to be proposing 3 names, and we are going to be deciding if we want to swipe left or swipe right on those individuals, or give the infamous the super swipe, or the star, or whatever the hell it's called. It's been a long time since I've been on the Tinder machine here, so I can't remember what everything's even called. But well, we're going to talk about some names that are kind of maybe where they're at their ADP. Are we buying them? Are we selling them at their ADP? Do we really like them? We're going to kind of go from there too. So that's what we have on the docket today. So without further ado, we'll get this episode number 15. We'll get it rolling. So we're going to start with insiders and headliners. We are looking at that time of year where sometimes the news is really nice. There's some little fluff pieces for guys like Antonio Gibson looking at getting some big workload that kind of gets you really excited about fantasy season. And then there's some of the news that kind of makes you hold your breath a little bit. Guys getting banged up in training camp and stuff like that. And then obviously a lot of those veteran guys getting released and potentially finding new teams. So that's what we're looking at here today. So one of those ones that was kind of holding your breath, we'll start off with Justin Jefferson. He went down with a shoulder injury. It looked really scary, and everybody's kind of holding their breath, especially with a young star and a guy that's going quite high in drafts. He's back now practicing with limited role, but obviously that's definitely something to be watching a little bit, especially when you're going to be using your high picks, like your middle second round, on a guy that's a little bit nicked up now, but we could have a sigh of relief. It's not a season-ending injury. He's expected to potentially be ready to go at the start of the year. Obviously, it's the timetable is still kind of up in the air, but obviously being back in limited fashion, he should be good to go. Obviously, Armin there, Viking guy, I'm sure he was holding his breath harder than anybody else. Your young superstar going down to a shoulder injury right off the hop.
Yeah, that's preseason, man, and this is why a lot of teams don't really like it. Is sometimes your stars can go down with big injuries, and just lucky that we did not end up with a big season or multiple game injury to Jefferson there. And I'm guessing you probably won't see much of Jefferson until week 1 here now. So that's just football, though. You run that risk every time you put on the pads and play in a game, especially at full speed rather than just practice, that you're going to potentially get injured. And that's why you limit it in preseason, and you don't put those stars out and just trust that they're going to be ready come week 1.
Absolutely. Another big name here going high in drafts, Darren Waller, was not seen at practice, was for a long duration of time. Everybody's kind of thinking, what the hell's going on with Waller? And is there I guess, first of all, we'll mention that in the preseason, the teams and the organizations don't have to disclose all the injuries like they do during the season and say who's banged up, who's questionable, who's doubtful, all that kind of stuff. So teams don't really have to disclose stuff. And Darren Waller not being mentioned in the injury reports, but not being seen at practice for a long duration of time was kind of like, well, does he have a big injury? Is he going to be hurt? Is he going to be done for a while? Like, people didn't really know, but he is back from his extended leave. So all things are looking up for the direction of Darren Waller. It looks like he should be good to go. If I remember correctly, it was an ankle was kind of the mention, was something was going on with him, but obviously he's back from his leave. So hopefully he's good to go. You did see a little dip in his ADP though for a while. I think a lot of people with the extended leave are getting a little nervous about him, but in that back end, second, maybe middle, third round, Zach, I know you're a guy that was high on Waller. Are you still looking to target him quite a bit, or?
Yeah, until there's solid evidence saying that he's not going to be there for us for any duration of time. I think you just have to trust your gut. If you take Waller and you're smart about it, you have potentially a league winner, a true game changer at that position. So don't let somebody else take advantage of rumors and speculation at this point.
Absolutely. A couple smaller pieces here, but it's that time of year. I know everybody was hot and bothered with the Tim Tebow signing, and he's going to be the next tight end. No, if you were on the other side of the bet, you would have made some money here, because he's already been released. He's not going to see a week 1 snap. So Tim Tebow's tight end season has been cut short. I can't see another team picking him up by any means, but the NFL's done weird things. So Tim Tebow, among 2 other veteran Players, Alfred Morris from the Giants has been released, running back from the New York Giants, as well as running back Lamar Miller from the Washington football team. I know maybe the Lamar Miller one kind of is a little bit okay, whatever, we can move on, but I think maybe it is worth mentioning Alfred Morris a little bit in a short breath here. So maybe somebody wants to take a swing at why we should be mentioning Alfred Morris.
I can go. As somebody that owns Saquon in most, if not all, of my dynasty leagues that I'm in, this was, welcome news to me. And I say that because they recently signed Alfred Morris, and I figure they would have kept Alfred Morris, who's a proven commodity in the NFL, if Barkley wasn't doing well, and he wasn't nearing a return to practice. There have been reports over the past couple of days that have Barkley rather, practicing not full contact, wearing the red non-contact jersey like a quarterback would wear, but still practicing, running, cutting, doing all that good stuff. So it definitely points into the direction of Barkley returning from injury sooner than later, and they deeming themselves no longer needing Alfred Morris as insurance. So for me, it was welcome news.
Absolutely. A couple smaller ones here. Let's dive into a couple of rookies. So Rashad Bateman, that one was a little bit scary. It seemed like all of a sudden it was like, okay, Rashad Bateman season over. He's done. It came back that it's not going to be months. It's going to be weeks. But it's never good when you're having a surgery to start the year. So Rashad Bateman having core muscle surgery. It's a little scary, especially I think he was lower on the ADP, but a lot of people are looking at potentially a huge breakout there and maybe becoming the wide receiver one for Baltimore, which maybe not a pass heavy team, but obviously at the ADP, it could have been quite valuable. Now his timetable is extremely questionable here after having the surgery. And another rookie, Elijah Moore, with a quad injury. And he was kind of becoming that shining star entering into draft season as potentially the legit number one rookie tight end this upcoming season. Jamar Chase's ADP is slowly starting to drop a little bit and kind of coming back to reality. Elijah Moore is starting to continuously climb. I mean, rookie seasons, it's all kind of a question mark anyways, is who's going to have the bigger breakout. But Elijah Moore's name was being thrown around a ton as this potential superstar as a rookie. But now with the quad injury, I think it's kind of mellowing out those takes a little bit as well. So two rookie receivers that maybe kind of going to be getting slept on a little bit, especially with injury. But once again, it's never good to see an injury, especially to a rookie who's trying to establish himself in an offense in that rookie season. So unfortunately, two guys that their off season looks like they might be cut short a little bit as well too, and maybe dealing with a little bit of nicks entering into the season. Two more guys we'll talk about here. I got Melvin Gordon dealing with a groin injury. I think that just makes a little more questions about the Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Also, is Melvin Gordon still going to be suspended? We still don't really know about that. So I think that's something to continue to monitor when you're looking at the Denver. I know it's kind of a question mark whether you want to take one or the other. You want to stay far away, but I think this might just be continuously open. There's more and more opportunities opening the door for Javonte Williams maybe to take that role a little bit sooner. And this last RB, I know Armin has a take that he's just waiting to use, and I don't know if it's going to be this episode or not, but Darius Geis was at one point the clear-cut 102. I believe that was Saquon Barkley's draft year. Am I correct?
Yeah.
He was a clear-cut 102 after Barkley in rookie drafts. Got injured, torn ACL, was out for the year, and then kind of got himself in a little bit of trouble. Bounced around, got cut. Looked like maybe he was going to be done. No teams picked him up, but he has been cleared from the legal system, and he has been handed a 6-week suspension, but is still unsigned. So now, I guess with all that legal stuff being taken care of, you still haven't seen him since the ACL injury. Is a team willing to take a shot on him? I guess we'll wait and see. But I know Armin's licking his chops and hoping maybe the Rams or somebody takes a swing at him, and then all of a sudden our trade doesn't look so bad. Too funny that's two guys, Melvin Gordon and Darius Geis, make the same news piece, and those are the two focal pieces of our trade a couple of years back there. But
yeah, it's maybe looking better on the Darius Geis side now than the Gordon side. with Javonte Williams coming in there and potentially taking over the number 1 spot in Denver. And if Melvin is injured, definitely accelerates that. And Broncos aren't going to use the other running backs behind Gordon and Williams. They haven't in the past, really. Like Royce Freeman has been sitting on my dynasty bench collecting dust for years now. And
yeah, if I had to bet, I think he gets cut. Like I can't see them carrying Freeman into the offseason here. That might be a guy that might end up and finding himself in Los Angeles too. I've seen a few hot takes around that, but
just like Geis, I wouldn't mind that either. Geis being suspended 6 weeks. I mean, we saw Hunt go down a similar journey, and he's proven to be a good fantasy asset now. Maybe not a top tier running back like he was when he started his career, but at least he is usable in fantasy and produces some good numbers as a RB2, or amazing to have him as your RB3 if you're that lucky. Geis, hopefully he can at least get to that level again. His what he did was a little bit more serious. He had a bit more going on against him. He still has some allegations from LSU, so I don't think he's out of the woods yet. So we just got to wait and see how that unfolds as well.
For sure. And our final piece here, we don't know how this is going to work out yet. This is pretty new from the preseason games this past weekend, but Anthony Miller suffers a slight dislocation in his shoulder during the preseason game. We'll wait and see what happens. Once again, he's not a rookie, but he's trying to establish himself in a new offense since the trade from Chicago to Houston. Going down to injury in the preseason makes things a little bit difficult for him too. So that one, we don't know exactly what the timetable is for him, if he's having surgery, if not, etc. We don't really know that one yet, but we'll continue to monitor that going in. Who seemed maybe potentially a fantasy value late in drafts, now putting some question marks around as well too. So that'll do it for insiders and headliners of this week. Obviously, we're week to week now, so we'll be getting much more information as we get closer to drafts, and we'll continue to hand out that information, and as well follow us on the social media platforms as well, because we've been hammering a lot of the trades, injuries, big events we've been putting on our social media as well too. So continue to monitor and watch on there as well. This one I'm excited to hear. Well, I shouldn't say I'm so excited, because I already know one, because he's hot and bothered by this player. We already know that he's almost a lock to be one of Armin's my guys here. But we're new keep trade cut this week, focusing on ADP. We are looking at the back of the first round. So if you are looking at maybe your draft pick of, let's say, like 108, 109, 111, 112, somewhere in that ballpark. So that back end first round where it's kind of like, okay, the big names have gone. Who do I want to take my shot on? Well, we're going to find out who Armin Schellenberg would be taking a shot on. So back end first round RBs, Austin Eckler, who is going as the RB10 and kind of going in that turn, the 112 to 201 spot. We have Aaron Jones, who is going as RB9. Same thing, kind of going as that 111, 112 in that position. And then Nick Chubb, who is RB7, and he is going around the 109 position. So Armin, keep trade cut, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Nick Chubb.
All right. So I pretty well stuck to the order that they're being drafted there. I'm cutting Eckler, I am trading Jones, and I am keeping Nick Chubb. Now, the reasoning behind it. Well, Eckler, I'm not as high on him. I've never really been that high on Eckler. He's been a solid fantasy asset for people, but you look at Justin Herbert, he seems to be a guy that airs the ball out. So those check downs to Eckler, I don't think they're going to come as much as they used to come to him. So he's not going to have his PPR value quite as high as it used to be. And then you look at his rushing stats, and he's been a decent rusher, but he's never carried the ball more than 140 times in a season, and he's never gotten over 600 yards rushing in a season. And then you also add in the fact that Eckler is not a touchdown guy, which is sometimes nice in fantasy when you don't have to rely on those touchdowns all the time, but also some guys just have a nose for the end zone. And when you got a guy like that, it's great to have, which is what Jones and Chubb are. They are touchdown machines. So just a little down on Eckler compared to the other two. Now, the reason I sell Jones over Chubb, yes, I am hot and bothered over Chubb. I really like him as a player and as an asset in fantasy. But I think a lot of people are lower on Chubb than Jones. So I think you're just going to get more haul out of Jones there. And then you look at both those guys, they're both in a committee backfield. Like last year it was Jamal Williams. This year it's going to be AJ Dillon in Green Bay. And yeah, Jones scores a ton of touchdowns, but in the end, his fantasy value isn't that much greater than Chubb, but you're going to get more assets from him than you would get from Chubb. So that's why you keep Chubb. And Chubb is a beast. If you do a lot of research, you'll see that a lot of guys see Chubb as the best pure rusher in the NFL. Some people even think he's a better rusher than Derrick Henry. You look at his stats, even sharing the backfield with Kareem Hunt for a full season last year, he still almost made 1,500 yards rushing. Last year in only 12 games, he still got over 1,000 yards rushing and scored 12 touchdowns. So he puts up fantasy points. He's efficient. He's never had a year averaging less than 5 yards per carry. So even though he's getting carries cut into by Hunt, he's efficient with those carries and he is scoring touchdowns with those carries. He's also, even though people say he's not targeted in the pass game, the year that he played, the last year he played a full season, he was targeted 50 times. So he does have not amazing PPR value, but he's getting passed to more than people think. So I love Chubb.
Zach, agree or disagree here?
I can't fault Armand too much with his ideas there. I am also going to cut Austin Eckler, but I'm going to switch Chubb and Jones. And we had similar ideas about why we want to keep keep the one guy compared to the other. The reason I am going to trade Chubb is because of Kareem Hunt. I think they kind of cannibalize one another. Last year, Chubb finished as the RB11, while Hunt finished as the RB10 in PPR formats. And I just don't want to deal with the possibility of them riding a hot hand in Cleveland. I'll stick with Jones. I'll stick with the RB5 from last year. And AJ Dillon, probably not somebody that I'm too worried about. So, but the way Armin said it, can't fault him for that.
I know you guys know, but I'm not too sure if I've mentioned on the podcast enough, but I am a huge Austin Eckler guy. Like I love Austin Eckler, like big time. A guy that's going to get you as many points as guys that are averaging 12, 14, 15 touchdowns. And he averages 4 touchdowns a year, like, and only in receiving. Like, I don't know if he's had a rushing touchdown in 2 years or something. He's like some stupid stat like that. But a guy that can give you that much points and all of a sudden in a backfield that is disgusting, like backs that I just really don't care about and I'm not concerned about. If all of a sudden his touchdown numbers go up by 3 touchdowns, he's getting himself in that top 5 potential. And I think he has that potential even without the touchdown, just because of how much he is valued as a receiver, and he's very, very talented. So I'm not going to speak too much on the other guys. Obviously, you guys took care of them, but in our one league, Zach and I actually traded, and I traded Eckler away, which was so bizarre for how much I like him. I was in a rebuild situation, and I ended up getting a young up and coming receiver and then some draft picks attached to the deal. So it broke my heart a little bit letting go of one of my favorite players in the NFL, one of my favorite fantasy players, but I think I would keep him. That's just a little bit of a personal vendetta that I just really like Austin Eckler. And I think like he's extremely talented without relying on the touchdowns, but obviously that's why they're all going 3 in a row, right? They're bang, bang, bang. Austin Eckler, maybe a little bit on the more slept on side. He's kind of on the turn, but if I'm in the turn and if I could start my draft at 112 with Travis Kelce and then Austin Eckler at the 112, or even at 111, if I can go Kelce at 11, and then I can get maybe pick him up Eckler at like the 201 or like just 202. Oh man, like, yeah, I'm getting my guy that I would take over those three in the second. Yeah, I'd be pretty fired up about that too. So that's maybe why I like him a little bit more, because he doesn't cost you as much. But yeah, I'm a big Eckler guy. So,
do you think Herbert's still going to target Eckler like Rivers did?
I think even more now with the vacated targets of Hunter Henry. I think Jared Cook, it's very questionable whether he still has it or not. He might eat into it a little bit more. But if you don't have that check down tight end, you have to go to your running back even more, right? So there's the possibility that his targets even go up. I mean, it's all speculation, but yeah, I'm an Eckler guy, and he's on a very, very good offense, right? With a young, talented quarterback. And you're forgetting that Austin Eckler missed some time last year with injury, and he still produced even after coming back from a potential season-ending injury, right? When he went down, was it week 2, if I remember correctly? There was like, yeah, season's over, he's done. I ended up trading for him, hoping that I could maybe get him back for a playoff push. Got lucky, got him back, and he was still kind of a little bit nicked up, but he got so many targets. He was just so valuable to you. But yeah, Austin Eckler, big fan.
Yeah, not to mention the Chargers have a much improved offensive line.
Absolutely.
So, like you mentioned, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I have Eckler. I think if the three of us are picking in that 9 through 12 spot ever in a draft, I think we all walk away happy with our guy.
Absolutely. I for the longest time, it's kind of nice to start your drafts in that 1, 2, 3 spot, because you always got the Saquons, the Zekes, the CMCs. You got those like the no-brainer guys. You're waiting a bit on the turn. I kind of maybe I'm a contrarian a little bit, and I'll mention this a little bit later in my hot take, but I like that back end of the draft. Like, there's a lot of value to have there. There's more question marks. There's no guarantees, but you're getting doubled down on some of those question marks with potential high upside. So I'm going to mention a little bit later in my hot take, but I like that back end of the draft. So,
I think I'm going to like your hot take there, because I'm liking what you were already saying, and kind of been thinking that myself.
Yeah, especially this year. Well, I'll save it for later. Should we get her going into this episode segment here, fellas? All right, we're
gonna done.
Okay, right on. We'll start in order here. It'll go Armin, then Zach, myself, and we'll all three rotate until our three guys are done. None of us know what our guys are. We wrote down 5 names just in case we end up double up on some of them at all. So this will be completely random, just like when you open your phone up, you look at the picture, read the quick bio, you're making that decision right then and there. So there's no pre-decisions for us here. We're going to be given the immediate decision, and we'll swipe left if we don't like it, and swipe right if we want to keep it, or you can give it the super like if that's like you are all in on that person and they happen to mention a guy that you're all about. So we'll go with Armin. So Fantasy Football Tinder, give us your very first profile.
All right, the first profile I am going to show you guys today, the picture comes up and it is just his quads, but it's not in blue pants, it's in green pants. It is AJ Dillon at 6 feet, 250 pounds. He's 23 years old. He comes from Boston College, so he's about 1,000 miles away from us.
I should wear my BC shirt today. I went BU. Idiot.
Like an idiot. So we talked about him a bit already, but I think I know what Zach's going to say. But last year, he ran the ball 46 times for 242 yards, 5.3 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. But the majority of that all came in one game where he had over 120 yards and he had both touchdowns. So what are you guys doing? Swiping left or swiping right? Let's start with Zach, because I don't think there's going to be a surprise there.
Yeah, shouldn't be much of a surprise here. I will swipe left. I'll try my luck elsewhere.
Oh yeah, he's also RB 39 off the board, ADP of 102, which is round 8, about the mid of the round, so 8.6, and 12 team leagues.
Yeah. If this was 2:30 in the morning and I'm leaving Hudson's and I see the picture of those quads, maybe I'm swiping right, but it's 4 PM and I'm well aware here. I'm going to swipe left. I just don't know. I haven't seen enough from him yet, and his ADPs continue to rise. I think a lot of people are kind of excited about him. But I'm going to swipe left just because I feel like the touchdown regression from Green Bay as a whole is going to come back. And I think the two of them are going to eat into each other a little bit, but I still think that that Aaron Jones has that red zone position locked up, and I still think he's even going to continue to carry the flame as the receiving back as well too. So I think when I'm taking a little late round shot, AJ Dillon isn't necessarily the guy I'm looking for, so I'm going to swipe left as well.
See, I'm opposite you guys. I'd swipe right on him. I like him as a prospect, and he's showing what he can do. And in that, after all the starting RBs are gone, you're looking at handcuffs and guys who might have some standalone value. And I think he'll have a little standalone value, enough that he's worth more than handcuffs. Because as a handcuff comes, if Jones goes down, he could be elite.
I agree with you, but are you a little bit concerned about his continually rising ADP? Like in the last, I'd say 2-3 weeks, even since I've been watching, it's climbing rounds, not even positions, climbing rounds. So when we get into draft position and our draft days in like a week to 2 weeks here, if he's climbing himself all the way into that seventh round, are you still licking your chops there, Armand, or are you kind of, what are you thinking?
I'll say I'm not gonna pick him before any starter, but or any RBBC starter. But I'll pick him once we start getting into handcuffs for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Zach, your Twitter profile, geez, your Tinder profile number one. Let's hear it.
Alrighty. So first up on the phone is J.K. Dobbins. J.K. is coming in at a not too bad 5'9", 209 pounds, currently being drafted as the 30th player overall, running back 17, and he can get him in the middle of the third round in 12-team leagues. He is going before the likes of Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders. Last year, his rookie season, he had 805 rushing yards, 9 combined TDs, 18 receptions. And as somebody that's never used Tinder, I'm not very familiar with it, but I do know you can set those age categories. And this is a guy that, he might just be on the fringes of the too young for me slider there, and possibly a year or two away from being that proven back in Baltimore. So what do you guys think? Armin, do you want to go?
All right, I'll start it. If I've seen a friend already swipe right on Chris Carson there, I think I'll swipe right on J.K. Dobbins. This one is a pretty tough one, Zach. I do like his explosiveness. I liked him coming out of the draft. I thought he was right in line with JT and who was the third back that was highly touted there?
Swift.
Yeah, Swift. I liked him better than Swift, and he was right in line with JT for me coming out of the draft. So I like Dobbins, and in that run heavy offense in Baltimore, he's kind of taking that Mark Ingram role, I think, and they're going to run the ball a ton. So I'll swipe right on Dobbins.
I am going to swipe left, just in that range. Like, I don't get me wrong, I like Dobbins, but in that range, there's guys that I like more, and that's still a 3-headed monster. When you get down to the red zone, last year you saw it constantly. He was pulled out, and they're putting in what's his name there? Sorry, it's blanking on me.
The
Edwards.
Gus Bus.
Yeah, Gus Edwards. Yeah. He was vulturing red zone carries like nobody's business. And at the end of the day, even Gus is not the number one carry in the red zone. It's Lamar Jackson. So when you look at it, he was super efficient with touchdowns last year. Well, he was never in the red zone. He never got carries in the red zone, like almost never. So I think that his efficiency is going to collapse a little bit. I think he's still going to be very valuable. But in that position of the draft, I'm looking for guys that are a little bit more established. And there's guys that have higher upside, like guys like Chris Carson. I've been very vocal about Chris Carson and my infatuation with him. So like you mentioned, if a guy swiping right on Carson first, I'm that guy. I swiped on Carson first, and then maybe you're hammering that right on Dobbins. So I'm going to swipe left on Dobbins.
I agree with you, Jordan. There in the third round, you're not exactly getting any 10s when it comes to running backs. All those running backs in that range have some question marks. But I agree with you. I would rather put my faith in a Chris Carson or even like a Josh Jacobs before I put my faith in a J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
we might be completely wrong, and maybe next year he's like the running back 5, and he just should have taken that shot on that little baby.
Yeah. Had the had all we be licking our chops, all of a sudden 2 years later, the what's it called, the glow up, all of a sudden a
Yeah,
year later we're like,
exactly.
dummies, idiot.
Yeah,
That's what
should
makes
have
this one
adjusted the
such a good
slider
pick.
for the age.
Yeah. All right. So here I'll go with my my Tinder profile number 1. And this Tinder profile, this one used to be the hot girl. And maybe the hot girl kind of fell off the wagon a little bit and maybe is sliding a little bit. And I want to know if maybe the slide is still worth it for you guys to swipe, or maybe you think it's over. So my profile is a 25-year-old Mark Andrews. So Mark Andrews in 2019 finished as the tight end number 2. And this past season in 2020 finished as the tight end 5. And right now is ADP tight end 5, tight end 6. It kind of goes hand in hand right now with a young, hot Kyle Pitts. So ADP tight end 5 going around the in 411. So kind of in the back end of the 4th, maybe early 5th. It was right about 504 about a week ago, but right now it just climbed a little bit back up into the 4th. He has the 7th strength of schedule, so one of the easier schedules for tight ends of this upcoming season. And in his first 3 years, he has 2,105 yards and 20 touchdowns. This past season, maybe it was a little bit of a dip. There's a lot of questions. Maybe it's because of Lamar Jackson and you can't throw the ball. But we talked about a wide receiver 1, and there is no wide receiver 1 because Mark Andrews has always been that wide receiver 1. But his ADP is sliding with maybe a little bit of a lower finish, and some other tight ends, some hot tight ends coming up. There's a young hot TJ Hawkinson, a young hot Kyle Pitts. Maybe those are the ones maybe you want to be swiping on. But if Mark Andrews comes up on your guys' Tinder machine, where you guys swiping left or swiping right?
Zach, you go first on
All
this
right,
one.
I will swipe right for a couple of reasons. That beard alone is enough reason to swipe right. But don't get hung up on last year's production. I think the production we saw 2 years ago is more likely in line with what we can expect to see from Mark. Last year, he dealt with some injury issues as well as some COVID issues, and I think that might have really impacted him. So I'm expecting big things from Andrews for this year. I think he could easily fall into the top 3 tight ends. But I think the top 4 tight ends is probably more realistic for him. And like I mentioned with Waller earlier on, if you can get a real difference maker at that position, you are well on your way to fantasy success. So swipe right.
All right. At that position where he's sitting right now, he is in that range of being one of the most proven tight ends in the league right now, behind Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle. And he's going behind some guys that are younger and haven't proven that they can produce at that level yet. So I'd agree with Zach. You swipe right on Andrews. Like that's a sexy man right there. And Jackson had a bit of a regression last year in his passing, but I think this year we're going to see a new and improved passing Lamar Jackson. And I shared it on one of our first podcasts there when we did Guess Who, and I stumped you guys with how good his stats actually were in I think it was 2019 with passing, and he led the league in passing yards, and he even broke a record for the most touchdowns in a season, right? So you got to hope that comes back, and with that rushing upside of Jackson bringing more players into the box, that should leave a lot of room for Andrews to operate in and around those linebackers, because they're going to be trying to pinch up to stop the run.
For sure. I think this one is kind of like your personal opinion. Like maybe you're on Tinder and you're looking for kind of the hot young quick pickup, then maybe this isn't your guy. But maybe if you're on the old Tinder machine and you're looking for Mr. and Mrs. Right, and you're looking to settle down, and then maybe you find somebody proven, this might be your bet. Like If you're looking for the young, hot TJ Hawks and Kyle Pitts, there's no guarantee there. They're just thinking there's the big jump. But Mark Andrews has proven nothing but steady and target hog. So maybe you're looking for the settled down Mark Andrews, and I will be swiping on Mark Andrews right big time. I'm a big fan of Mark Andrews, especially at who I have ranked as the tight end 3 this year. I'm getting him at tight end 5, maybe tight end 6 price in the 5th. By that point, I can go running back, wide receiver 1, then my tight end 1. Yeah, that's a start. I'll be licking my chops, so I'll be swiping right on that one for sure. Let's hear your Tinder profile number 2, Armand.
All right. I am sticking with the tight end theme here. The profile coming up here. He's been the number 2 guy behind Zach Ertz for a little while. We're going Dallas Goedert here. He's currently being drafted as tight end 7. ADP of around 80, so that puts him kind of in the transition from round 6 to round 7, late 6, early 7, where you're gonna get him. Where are you guys swiping him to? I'll give you a little bit of a info here. He has been looking decent last year, sharing the field with Ertz. He put up 524 yards and he put up 607 in 2019, the year Ertz was going off. So what do you guys think?
I can go first here. So this is maybe a situation where you're looking at your Tinder and then you find somebody that's extremely unattractive, like Ertz with his bleach blonde hair, and then you see the next person, you ought to think, okay, I just got to swipe right to get back on the train, but I'm swiping left here. Even though Ertz with his bleach blonde hair, I think he's washed, and I hope maybe there's a chance that he does get it back going. But in those middle round tight ends, I'm avoiding them big time just because you're paying a premium for guys that are still pretty unproven. Like you're maybe looking at Noah Fant, a Goddard, those types of guys where you're maybe getting the same production as like a Tyler Higbee or the same production as maybe like a Jonnu Smith, who are all guys that are going with relatively almost your last pick of the draft. So instead of burning my 7th, 8th, 9th round, whatever the ADP was, I missed that. Maybe I'm going to be waiting and I'm going to maybe try and find something better later in the night. Maybe instead of locking myself down on a right swipe at 9 in the evening, maybe I'm going to wait until 1 or 2. Maybe I find something better. Sometimes that may prove me wrong. Maybe there's nothing better at later drafts. But I'm gonna hold out to maybe see if I can find something a little better.
Sorry, Jordan. I like your analysis of Ertz there, but the guy I brought up, maybe I didn't make it clear, was Goddard is the one I wanted to talk about.
That's what I'm talking about. Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
Yeah. The Ertz is the guy that's first, and you almost panic swipe right on the next guy. But yeah, I'm avoiding Dallas Goedert.
All right.
I have to agree with you there, JC. I am swiping left on Goddard. Not because I don't think he's, a good football player, like a serviceable tight end. I just think if you can't get one of those top 4 guys, even those top 5 guys, it's just not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze at that point. I would rather sit back and maybe get like a 3rd running back or get myself a really good 3rd receiver and pick up somebody that I also consider a dice roll at tight end, 2, 3, 4 rounds later. And those guys that you mentioned, like a Tyler Higbee, Jonnu Smith, those are the guys that I'd be interested in if I was staring down the barrel at Dallas Goedert.
You can also at that point late in the draft too, you can go double down on guys like those, like we mentioned, both Tyler Higbee. Those are both guys I think that would have a pretty good opportunity. But there's also guys we're both high on Adam Troutman. You can burn your very last pick on him, go double down tight ends, and then you're going to know right away. You could drop one of them and then you're just playing the kind of the roulette of tight ends kind of late in drafts too, but you're not burning valuable picks. At least you're literally throwing away your last pick. So
now maybe in a week or 2, if Ertz gets wiped up and he gets sent off to Indy or to Buffalo, I might change my tune. But with what we know now, swiping left on Goddard.
And that's hard to say because especially with the reports coming out of camp right now that Ertz has been looking really good. I mean, obviously you put the helmet on, the bleach blonde hair goes away, so it's a little bit easier to look better than when you can't see that highlighter from space. But maybe you're at that position, you're splitting tight end targets, which are not very valuable to begin with unless you are that top 3 guy. So like you mentioned, it's tough. It's tough when you're splitting targets with 2 guys that aren't really those high profile guys. It's not like we're sitting here talking about Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski, right? Where you're very happy with having either one. I think that's a situation. It's not even close to that. So
Yeah, I agree with both you guys there. Swiping left on Goddard. You can get some good value, like you said. And another thing too is the guy that fed Ertz and the tight ends in Philly all those years is gone. Wentz is no longer the guy feeding the tight ends. It's now Hurts, and I haven't seen much to show me that Hurts loves the tight ends. He just loves to run.
Yeah. Number 2, Zach, let's hear it.
All right. So you open up the phone and you find yourself looking at a stud, an absolute 10. You're looking at Josh Allen. This young man is 25 years old, stands a staggering 6'5", 237 pounds. He is currently being drafted as the QB2, which is the third, and coming off the board is the 32nd overall player. And you can get him mid to late 3rd round. He's going before the likes of Allen Robinson, CD Lamb, and Mike Evans. Last year, in his career year, he had a 69% completion percentage, 4,544 passing yards, 37 passing TDs, and 8 rushing TDs. This is a guy that's going to take you to for some beer and wings in old chilly Buffalo. He's there for a good time. So what do you guys think?
And he'll pay for it all too.
Yeah, with this big money.
Exactly.
So here's my thought process. If I was going on the Tinder machine at this point, I'm not looking for the young guy that's talking about his dad, the lawyer, with lots of money, and he's bashing through tables and partying and stuff. I may be looking for somebody that I'm going to settle down with and maybe look for the future Mr. and Mrs. Jordan Carrier there. So maybe if I was young and dumb and didn't understand the value late at drafts, maybe I'd be looking for the partier and let's have a good time. But I'm a little older and wiser, and I know things a little better now. So I know that there's a lot of value to be had later on in life. And you kind of want to find that person that you can hold on to for a long duration of time and kind of enjoy life together. So by enjoying life, I'm going to be picking up the RBs early on and picking up a quarterback late. I know I've said on the podcast lots, I'm a late quarterback guy. There's lots of value to be had. The Matthew Staffords, the Ryan Tannehills, even now Jalen Hurts kind of sliding a little bit. There's lots of value to be had with those later guys that you can pick up in the 8th, 9th, 10th, even potentially later, depending on your home leagues when they take the quarterbacks. So at this point in my life, I'm older and wiser. I'm looking for something stable, not something that's going to cost me a lot, and my body's gonna be sore from partying hard with those young whippersnappers out there. So I'm going to swipe left. It's not what I'm looking for.
You know, with quarterbacks, I'm not quite as enjoy it as you, Jordan, but you know, I like to have the more settled down, but someone who likes to go on adventures too sometimes still. So I don't wait quite as long. End result, I'm still gonna swipe left on Josh Allen here at the QB2 in the 2nd round here, but I'd probably be picking up more around that Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, a guy who can put up big numbers and take you for a ride sometimes.
All right. I think we're all in agreement here then. I will swipe left as well. I will sell Josh Allen. My wife is 5 feet tall, so 6'5" is just too big for me. Just kidding. But like, in all honesty, we've already seen the best of Josh Allen. We've seen him put up like a MVP caliber season, and I'm all about finding value. I don't like paying, like the top price for somebody in drafts. And I think getting a quarterback mid to late 3rd round it's just not smart. It's not the best way to draft. I will let somebody in my work draft take the quarterbacks early, and I will just collect value all day. Josh Allen, great quarterback, great fantasy quarterback, but not on any of my teams. Not today.
Quick question for you. How far? So to keep on the Tinder here, how many years of growth and maturity, and by that I mean rounds of dropping, do you think he has to get before maybe you're gonna hammer on Josh Allen?
You know what? If he was sitting there after I had 2
So like
two
maybe
running backs,
fifth roundish?
two running backs, two receivers. Yeah, if he's there round 5, round 6, I might break all my rules for the right one.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. Like round 5, round 6 is kind of where it's like, if there's value, I'll take it. If not, I'm kind of moving. It's kind of like the tight ends too, like those big names. You kind of like, okay, I don't want to take one too early, but you can find them in the sweet spot. Maybe I'm agreeing with you. What about you, Armin? You agree or disagree, or is like it's Russell Wilson still your guy? I think you've had him 4 years in a row in our staff league.
Because Russ has that value where he sits, man. He can put up a 40-point night, and that's kind of where with Josh Allen too, right? He's a guy like you're gonna put up big points. It's when that difference between the amount of points he gets is greater than like almost double what you're gonna get from that wide receiver or running back that you can pick up at that position, right? Yeah. Because you can only start one QB, and there's so many QBs that can put up big numbers on any given week too. So that 5th, 6th round is a good time.
All right, I will dish you guys my my Tinder profile number 2, and this Tinder profile is young, but maybe not what you're looking for. Maybe is what you're looking for. So let's see if you want to swipe left or right on this individual on a profile that maybe the first couple pictures didn't look super nice, but you hung around long enough to keep looking through the photos, and all of a sudden it was just smoke shows on the last couple slides. We're talking about David Montgomery. Okay, if you look those first couple pictures at the start of the year, they weren't all that pretty, especially with what was costing you for David Montgomery. But if you kept looking through those photos and you hung around long enough, you reaped the rewards of RB number 2 from week 12 on. So David Montgomery season splits were quite serious. He finished as a running back. He finished with running back number 6, which is really crazy to see where he kind of started. He's currently at ADP RB 15 and being drafted around the 304 spot. He's got the 15th strength of schedule season, kind of right in the middle. He sees Green Bay twice, Detroit twice, so those are kind of a wash. And then the Vikings, who really knows at that point. So seeing the NFC North right now is kind of a little bit maybe easier than it has been in the past couple of years. But one thing that I will mention there, he averaged 15.29 points per game. That's with the bad games and obviously the incredible games at the end of the season. But he did battle a groin injury that was almost like it sounded like a season-ending injury in preseason. So maybe that's a reason why he had a slow start, and maybe now the glow up, we're kind of fading the glow up. Maybe we think it's maybe pretend or photoshopped. We don't really know here. So going around guys like Kittle, Waller, Allen, Swift, Dobbins, McLaurin. Do you believe the hype? Do you believe the pictures, or are you getting catfished here? David Montgomery, swiping left or swiping right?
I'll go ahead and I'll swipe right on Montgomery. Ooh. I have Montgomery in a couple of dynasty leagues. I had him on a couple of redraft leagues last year, and he won me a decent chunk of change in a couple of leagues. So maybe it's just out of loyalty and faithfulness, I will stay with Montgomery. I think you are getting a potential top 10 running back in the 3rd round. That's what I was talking about with Josh Allen. That's getting somebody with high upside in the later rounds. I would much rather take Montgomery in the 3rd than Josh Allen in the 3rd. So give me Montgomery all day long.
Harmon, you gave him a whoa. Are you the contrarian here?
I think I am. He's hurt me too many times.
You think Montgomery's the 45-year-old man hiding behind the 20-year-old pictures?
Yeah, he's hurt me. He's catfished me. I don't 100% trust Montgomery yet, and it may bite me in the butt later. I may be looking at it being like, oh, I could have had him, but I didn't. And you know what? I'll live with that, knowing who I can get there, right? He's going around George Kittle. At that point in the draft, if I'm picking up a tight end one like George Kittle after picking up 2 running backs already, or running back receiver, I'd be pretty happy with that. Or I'd rather, we talked about him already, have J.K. Dobbins than Montgomery right now. I know it's first week of the preseason, but Khalil Herbert, he looked pretty good, didn't he?
There's some hype coming around from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that time of year where there's hype piece after hype piece.
Yeah, where that 4th string running back busts like
Makes
2
one cut and
90-yard
it's
runs.
like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, he
against
cut
a
so
bunch
hard.
against a bunch of construction workers and
Yeah.
like restaurant servers.
Yeah, the middle linebacker was pumping gas 3 weeks ago, and then he just got absolutely unraveled. It's like, oh yeah, he looked good. Good.
And he's going back to the SO in 3 weeks too.
Yeah. I'm gonna swipe right on Monty here. I started dating Monty before he was the hot one, and I got lucky that my 9th round pick in Armin's keeper league is now mine and locked down. So I'm gonna keep Monty here, especially with that incredible value. You can't go wrong. But I think I'm gonna bleed a little bit. I think I mentioned it on last week's pod about that injury thing. And I completely forgot that. I was listening to another pod and they mentioned that, and I'm like, you're right, because I drafted last year Tariq Cohen thinking I was just the sneakiest guy in the world. Like I drafted Tariq Cohen, who had huge receiving upside and then could take over the load, because what if Montgomery doesn't play? And then Cohen like blew his knee the first game or whatever the heck it was. I can't remember exactly how that all shook down. And then it was like, okay, what's going to happen in Chicago? And then Montgomery played and we kept moving on. We all forgot about it. So I don't know if that's the whole reason why he struggled maybe the first half of the season. Then he played bad teams. Well, doesn't really matter. Like you put up big numbers, That's you can't take those away. But I'm believing a little bit about that groin injury. Maybe that's why he did struggle so much. And to get like Zach said, a very solid running back on a team that is committed to run the ball. I think I would like that. Let's just say like I'm obviously high on CEH. He's going kind of at the start of the 3rd, back in 2nd, so he's going to go a little bit before Monty. But I think as a consensus, the community is like the fantasy community is sleeping on him. So I think he's an undervalued asset for your team, especially as a potential RB2 or RB3 at that point.
Yeah, I agree. You could definitely take over, and it looks like Cohen could possibly miss a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I think he is toast. I think he is unfortunately long in the tooth for the NFL. But Armand, your final Tinder profile.
All right. So you open up your phone to this one and bam, you have a beautiful specimen of 6'4", 240 pounds. He can run like the wind. And it turns out he's not from the States. He's Canadian. It's Mapletron, Chase Claypool, going around wide receiver 26, 67th off the board, mid 5th round here. He's getting drafted after Deontay Johnson, his teammate, and before Juju. So he's being drafted in the middle of the Steelers receivers. And the other guys around him are Chase Edmonds, OBJ, Kenny G, Javonte Williams, Michael Thomas, T. Higgins, Mostert, Sutton, those kind of guys.
I'll let you go first, Zach. I'm curious.
All right.
I got a good rebuttal here.
Interestingly enough, just like a few hours ago, Twitter was lighting up with Claypool getting hurt at practice and having to be helped off the field. So I might have egg on my face for this, but I'm going to swipe left. Not that I don't like Claypool, or not that I don't think he's, somebody that can really produce. I just don't want to be going out with somebody and worrying about their friends. There are too many mouths to feed in that offense. And with Johnson and Smith-Schuster, as proven commodities. I think much like the Chubb and Hunt from earlier on, I think the three of them will cannibalize one another. Not to mention Najee Harris coming in at running back. So I think I could do better at that price point.
Yeah, you took a couple of words out of my mouth there, obviously about the injury. So I'm hearing rumors about him. Maybe he's not faithful. Maybe he's, we don't know yet exactly if it's the truth, if he's actually going to be out or not. But you're hearing the murmurs. So it's do you believe in him or not? But I'm gonna fortunately swipe left. Not to say that I don't find him very attractive and very appealing. I just like I like his brother or sister or whatever our comparison here is, his companion, his relative, his cousin, whatever. I like Deontay Johnson. I like how fast the ball was getting out of Big Ben's hands and into Deontay's on those quick short routes. He's a target machine, and Ben is obviously very short for the league here, remaining in time. And when you're that old and you have that serious of an injury, you don't go back into your prime. Obviously, I think it's kind of almost the end for him, unfortunately, on a very long and prestigious career. So I'm going to take the guy that's going to take the under routes, the quick routes, and be getting pepper fed the ball in approximately the same position. I have Claypool in a dynasty league. I really like the prospect of him. I think he even has a potential for another breakout, another step forward. But I'm going to take the proven commodity and proven target machine on Deontay Johnson.
I see. See, I'm going to go a little contrarian to you guys, and it might not pay off this year. But next year, I think it definitely would. But I'm going to swipe right on Chase. He's the best looking of the group. And like you've said before, Jordan, I think cream rises to the top, right? And I think he is the best receiver out of those three. And hopefully Haskins takes over that starting job mid-season.
Yeah, it's so funny in that room, like how everybody's like, oh, is it Deontay? Is it Claypool? And everybody's just like, Juju is a piece of meat. It's just like pushed to the side, but they all go right around the same draft spot. And really, like, is it going to be literally a 33% split, or is somebody going to take the reins and jump forward? I think Juju led them in points out of the three of them, if I'm not mistaken. But we're all like, no, Juju, you're third. Sorry, like kick rocks. But like maybe Juju's the one that's like wants to go out for beers and wings with you and hang out with you, but you're like, no, like the other ones are sexier than you, so I'm just gonna leave you the side. But really, you're the best personality and probably who I want to spend the most time with. But you're like, no, you're not the hot pick. So sorry. But maybe we're fading Juju a little bit. Like I know Zach, you mentioned Juju getting him. It was in the 9th round in your Scotty Fish or something like that. Like
Yeah, it was late.
Yeah,
My wide receiver 3.
yeah, so that's extremely good value on somebody that could easily take the job, right? We don't know. Like we're all talking about these other two because they're the young, sexy picks, but I gotta remember what Juju is. He 25 years old with 4 years in the NFL experience already. Like
Yeah, he's still a baby.
yeah,
he's a kid. He's on TikTok.
Yeah, hard on TikTok, big time.
TikTok guy.
Maybe that's why we're fading him. Not mature enough yet. We don't know. Hard to say. Zach, do you want to feed us your number 2 or sorry, number 3? My apology.
Yeah, you bet. So it's getting a little bit later in the evening, and you check the old app there, and staring you back in the face is William Vincent Fuller V. Will Fuller, standing at 6 feet tall, 184 pounds. He is being drafted as the wide receiver 40, the 99th player overall, and you can get him in the early 9th round. He is going before the likes of Jarvis Landry, James Conner, and Curtis Samuels. Last year, in 11 games, he had 53 receptions, 879 yards, and 8 touchdowns. One thing to note about Will Fuller, he does have some commitment issues. Can't always count on him to be there for you, whether it's injuries or suspensions. But when he's there, the highs are high, the good times are great. What do you guys think?
I am sitting there looking at Will Fuller, and Will Fuller wears a lot of makeup, a lot of Photoshop. Obviously, it's coming back to bite him in the butt. He's gonna be missing time for faking so much. So I think that maybe those first couple pictures that we've seen with a high flying offense was all to do with Photoshop and makeup and not truly who Will Fuller is. We didn't see really anything at the point before. We went on a couple hikes with him, went on a first date or two, went hiking, fell down, hurt himself. Go for dinner, stabs himself with a fork, hurts himself. And then finally it's like, all right, let's try a third date, and then just lathered up the makeup and truly wasn't who he was. So I'm going to swipe left because I think what we've seen from him is an injury prone person who needed to use outside performance enhancing things to make himself look more appealing. So even at his draft cost, it gets maybe like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll give Will Fuller another chance. But then you find out that his dad is super crazy and the family's crazy, and it scares you because all of a sudden the quarterback situation is scary. And you're like, no, I'm out. I'm out. Doesn't matter how appealing you get. Maybe I want to come back and try this dating thing again for this person and repeat. But no, you got to remember it's a scary situation with somebody that maybe is obviously got a lot of baggage to carry. So I am out on Will Fuller, left swipe.
Yeah, Will Fuller, he's a toxic relationship. You don't want to get into that one at all. I'm a swipe left immediately, especially when I'm looking at this ADP here. I'm looking at the website right now, and it's kind of funny. He's going only 5 spots before the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, but I'd rather have a lot of those other guys around him. Like, you wait until this 9th round to get Jalen Hurts, who's going right before him. Yeah, sign me up. I'll take that rushing upside QB and wait for that rather than take Will Fuller or even have him as my backup QB. Jarvis Landry, you mentioned him. People sleep on him a lot. Like, I swipe right hard on Jarvis there. He is consistently in the top 20 for wide receivers, and you get him way down in the 10th, 11th or whatever round, 9th, 10th round. Landry is way better looking than Fuller. He's dependable. He's going to be there to hold your hand. He's going to hold you while you're crying in the shower at night because you just lost your game. Landry is dependable. Take him way before Fuller, man.
Oh man, what an analogy.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Never been sad while being held in the shower, so I don't know what you guys are up to.
Man.
A little bit different here, but I am going to swipe right on Will Fuller. And I even considered doing the super swipe for Will Fuller as the wide receiver 40, as the 99th player overall. I think you could do a lot worse. In 11 games, he put up wide receiver 2 numbers. And now, yeah, I know you got to deal with a few issues here. First and foremost, health, and then the suspension to start the year. But I think you could do a lot worse. And if he's able to play anywhere close to a full season, I think he's going to have wide receiver 2 potential with, if he hits that, maybe even low end wide receiver 2 potential. But that's a big ask for a guy that's never played more than 14 games in a season. But something else to consider also is in free agency, the Dolphins signed Will Fuller relatively quickly. At the draft, they drafted Jalen Waddle. Both these guys have very similar profiles as far as athleticism and size. So I think that is an ingredient that the Dolphins identified, and they decided they needed to solve, to fix. So I do think they're going to use both of those guys a lot this season, but hopefully Fuller is the one that gets the most work.
Your quote of I could do a lot worse sounds like the 3 a.m. Hudson motto, I think. I could do a lot worse. Yeah, I'm still swiping right, I think. Or left, sorry, swiping left.
I thought I convinced you, damn it.
No,
I mean, it's not bad. Like, at that point, like, you're taking shots and you got a guy that was argue a wide receiver one, right? It's just, do you want to be in a toxic relationship for a duration of time and hold your breath every time you pluck them in your roster, or do you want to take your shot and hope to maybe find a diamond in the rough, I guess? But
I'll tell you what, this guy is a best ball darling.
yeah.
Oh yeah, in best ball, I'd swipe right for him in best ball.
If I'm playing best ball and I'm a 3, then yeah, I'm gonna be all over Will Fuller because I'm not doing much better than that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up here with my last one. I'm trying to pick. I'll do this one here. This one, he just came out of a long-term relationship, so he is entering the league at an older age than most because he was committed to Alabama for the full stint. Unfortunately, after running the course with Alabama, has now become single and ready to mingle. So Najee Harris at age 23, rookie for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the third strength of schedule. So a little bit of a double-edged sword here. A very easy schedule potentially for running back. I mean, you can't really buy into the strength of schedule too much because the defense has changed quite a bit. But perception of a third easiest strength schedule is very juicy. But the double-edged sword is that their offensive line took a huge hit. So that offensive line is ranked by PFF at the 29th overall in the position, which is not very good. So Najee Harris is being drafted as the RB11 off the board and around the 203 position. So ADP, as we get close to draft season, is starting to climb a little bit. It was around the late second, early third, but we are approaching the middle to early second round. So he has a potential for a huge workload coming up with a pretty irrelevant backups at the position and on a team that is very, very committed. They're hard commitment and very, very, so we're looking for here. They value the individual and they treat you right, and meaning that they pump you with all opportunities, and they don't really share. They're very monogamous to the position. So when you see this person, they're going around Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs, Hopkins, Gibson, and DK Metcalf. So when you see this Najee Harris fresh off a relationship and single and ready to mingle, are you swiping left or swiping right on Najee Harris?
I'll go first on this one. I had the opportunity to draft Najee Harris in a rookie draft this year with the 101, and I traded him for Antonio Gibson, and we swapped late round first picks. So I got the 109 and he got the 111. So I'm gonna stay on brand, and I'm gonna swipe left on Najee. The offensive line is poor, like you mentioned, and they clearly have a commitment to the passing game with those three high end receivers. I think he's going to produce, but it's going to be all based on volume. I think they have a good chance that they're just going to feed him the ball, but he's not going to have, any real efficiency to his game. So with that said, I would much rather go ahead and draft Antonio Gibson, who is, he's rated as the running back 12 compared to Harris, the running back 11. I'd go with CEH, running back 14. And I might be tempted to go with, even David Montgomery, running back 16. I just don't think this is Harris's year.
Harmon?
Yeah, you're sitting looking at that one, and it's very tempting to swipe right. Like, it's the Steelers running back number 1. Like, usually that ends up being a recipe for success, but I think you do have to, Zach put up some good points there. Swipe left there. Like, Gibson's there. He's more proven. He's going to have that more of that backfield to himself, and he's got a lot of PPR upside too. Najee does as well. But then you got Mixon there. You got to hope he puts in a full season. So I think just the value is not quite there. He might be almost this year's CEH where he's climbing almost a little bit too high before he should be drafted.
If you asked me this question about a week ago, I think I'm giving this a super swipe, to be honest. He is so tempting, and not just because yes, the offensive line is terrible, but when you look at Jacksonville last year, they had the worst rated offensive line, and look at James Robinson still put up massive numbers. Okay, so why I like Najee Harris isn't even necessarily about his run game, which he is a hard runner. There's a reason he was a clear-cut one from the running back draft class this past season, but it's because what he can do with the ball in his hands. And he is a dynamic ball catcher, and he is incredible with ball in space. So I'm going to swipe right, but it's very tentative because I'm concerned maybe Najee Harris will get back with the X or something, and it's gonna burn me. He's gonna get back with CEH, and the draft price is gonna climb too high. But at the middle of the second round, if I start my draft with like a Austin Eckler, a Aaron Jones, like we talked about Nick Chubb, the guys we just finished talking about, and then I can come back on the turn and take like a Najee Harris as my RB2 with serious upside. I like that quite a bit. Obviously, I like it more when you're getting into the late second and early thirds. But I think as the draft season progresses, he's going to keep hanging around that mid to early second. So if I have a safe floor like a Nick Chubb, then I'm going to love Najee Harris, especially with what he can do with the ball in his hands. So maybe and part of that is that I'm not concerned about who's behind him. In the couple preseason games we've seen him, he's carrying the full workload. He looks dynamic. He's been unreal with the ball in his hands, and really there's nobody else coming in to take the touches. So it's another opportunity for him to continually get fed the ball. And like we mentioned with Ben Roethlisberger, that ball's coming out of his hands quick. So we'll maybe look at Najee with some swings, with some screens. And like I mentioned, when you get him in space, look out, he is elite. So I'm going to swipe right, but it's a tentative right.
You're getting close to convincing me there, Jordan. This is one where I'd be sitting on my phone looking at it now, being like, oh, God. If it comes draft time and I have him on the clock at this position, I might take the full clock here.
Yeah, we all know somebody like that in our leagues. Talking about you, David Cito. Anybody else maybe you want to mention out here, fellas? I know we had 5. Do we have any repeats?
No. None of you guys stole any of the guys that I came up with.
Armin, did you have any repeats?
No, you guys didn't steal any of my guys either.
Let's let's mention them. We won't talk about them. We'll let the fans base decide whether they would swipe left or right on them. So Armin, who's your 2 extras you had?
My 2 extras. Okay, I had Jamal Williams at 47th RB off the board, ADP, and the
super swipe. It's over. I'm married. Jamal Williams.
And then I had the other Canadian receiver, Josh Palmer, going 83rd receiver off the board at 255 ADP. So pretty much undrafted there, around 22 if you're going that deep. That one I actually really like. I'd super swipe Palmer. I think with Herbert being young, Palmer could come in and steal that wide receiver 1 spot.
Zach,
I know that's a hot take, but it could happen.
That is spicy.
You got to go hop in the shower and get cuddled there. That is too hot.
Yeah, that's
too hot.
Okay. I could buy taking over Mike Williams, but taking over the man, the myth, the legend there. Oh boy. Zach, who's your other 2?
All right. So my other 2 were, funny enough, Mike Williams, wide receiver 49, 125 overall, and get him in the mid 10th round. And Myles Gaskins, the running back, 21, 46 overall, late round 3.
I thought about doing Gaskins too, but I ended up doing somebody different.
Gaskins is a potential super right as well, a super swipe. Although I used mine on Palmer, but
I just saw they're talking about maybe using a 3-headed monster committee there. So that's scary news.
Gaskins would be a super nope for me.
Yeah. If there's like a in your face, I would rather swipe left on you and they get notified that you're a piece of garbage. That's Zach swipe right there.
Yeah.
My other 2, I had Odell Beckham Jr. at ADP wide receiver 24 in the round 604. So I had OBJ there, kind of the the old person on Tinder that's like, why are you on Tinder? This is a young person's game. Why are you
Silver
40?
Fox.
I
Yeah,
think that's a
exactly.
swipe left because that offense is going to be running the ball a ton, and that defense will keep the lead for him.
Like recently divorced and ended up on Tinder. That's OBJ there. And then my other one I had was Miles Gaskins, Miles Gaskins. Sorry, I was going to do Miles Gaskins. I went with the other Miles. I went with Miles Sanders, ADP running back 20 around the round 402, going around guys like Jacobs, Carson, Woods, Julio, A-Rob, and Evans.
Some good names there.
Yeah.
Hey, I just looked this up quickly because I was curious. You guys had my heart racing with Claypool news there. What I'm seeing right now for the newest news is minor ankle sprain. So I ain't worried, but maybe you guys might still be.
Isn't that
Minor's
what
a lot
Kamara
better than what
had,
it
like,
sounded
2
like. It
years
sounded
ago?
like he was getting carried off the field. It sounded real bad. So
Well, it said he was helped off the field, but came down to a minor ankle sprain. So hopefully he's not being beaked about that in the locker room. But
that's twice now we've held our breath with Claypool. Because in the Hall of Fame game, he fell on the ball and everyone's like, oh my God, he's down. No,
Yeah.
he's lost his breath.
He's Canadian. He's tough. He's a crazy Canuck, right?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Not seeming not so tough, getting carried off by Big Ben and Ebron.
Oh, like maybe it's the opposite. Maybe he's able to play through that stuff.
Yeah. So should we wrap this up, fellas? A little hot takes here or what?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, Armin, let's hear it. You already gave us like 6 of them today. Let's hear your number 7 hot take of the day.
I just want to be contrarian. I want people talking about our pod, man. Like, let's go here. I'm going actually really spicy, I think, here. I wasn't 100% convinced with it when I first started thinking about it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's probably been a hot take the last 2 years here. Rashad Penny is going to be fantasy relevant this year. The reason I am saying that is that I'm just banking and crossing my fingers that he's able to stay healthy this year. And the Seahawks want to commit to the run more. And it sounds like they might kind of start doing an RBBC approach here. And Penny is the number 2 guy on that depth chart. So Carson's still the number 1 guy, but I think Penny could have hot take a standalone value this year. And then also Russ does like to pass to the running backs. He's showing that more and more. So Penny could have some PPR upside too if he's seen the field as much as I hope he's going to. But yeah, spicy hot take there. Rashad Penny going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I happen
Chris
to agree
Carson,
with you.
let's go.
I happen to agree with Armand. As long as you're playing in a 16-team league, I could see some relevance there.
Yeah, played super deep sleeper there. Super
three
deep.
games is the most he's played in a season or something like that. Like Chris Carson, let's go.
I knew you were gonna say that, Jordan. That's kind of why I wanted to do this one.
Yeah, you know what? There's been a lot of hype about him, and everybody's talking about how injured Chris Carson is. But man, if there's Chris Carson's injury prone, Rashad Penny's like got a permanent hotel stay in a hospital. Like he's a guy just can't stay healthy. Like I think he's Mr. Irrelevant. But if that becomes an RBBC, I might cry. I might need somebody holding me in the shower there, Armin, because I'm crying like you were mentioning there with Jarvis Landry. Oh man. Zach, let's hear yours.
Alrighty. So Zeke Elliott will underperform his current ADP and not finish as an RB1 at the end of the year. Last year, Zeke finished as the running back 9 in PPR formats and is currently being drafted as the RB5. Last year, he registered his lowest yards per attempt of his career. So this year, he is playing the 25th hardest schedule for running backs, according to Fantasy Pros. With Dak returning from injury, along with Blake Jarwin returning as well, the Cowboys offense could prioritize the passing game much more than last year. This plus having a defense that gave up the 28th most points in the year last year, Zeke may have fewer opportunities. And by that, I mean, if they are continually playing catch up in the second half, the Cowboys might be forced to pass to catch up in the score and less likely to give Zeke touches to wind down the clock. I can easily see Zeke being surpassed by the likes of Barkley, if healthy, Taylor, Eckler, Gibson, and Jones, all guys that are currently being drafted after him. Yeah, maybe Nick Chubb too.
Oh, that one might make me cry because he's a guy I'm targeting late in the first round as well. But I think Armin, you had a take similar to that too. Or yours about Tony Pollard, though,
Tony
wasn't it?
Pollard, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, Armin agrees with this one as well.
Yeah. Zach and I are just in agreement today. We're in cahoots.
Yeah.
Especially about Rashad Penny.
Yeah. Just a few parameters on that one on my agreements.
Yeah, are you in a 26 man league and taking him in the 20th round? Yeah, he's relevant.
32 team, 10 starter league.
Oh man, unreal. Okay, so mine's a little bit different than what I've had in the past. Usually I'm talking players or something around those parameters, but I'm talking about draft positions. We're getting to the point of the year where everybody's going to be doing whatever it is that you find out where you're drafting, and then you start doing your mock drafts. And I know in our league, in our home league, well, maybe not so much my home league anymore. I don't know if I'm going to be in that league anymore here with not working at St. Mary this upcoming year. But what they do is they do pulling out of the hat, and then they go from 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, all the way to 1. And then you got roughly about a 12-hour window where you are allowed to trade your pick. So if, say, for example, Armin has the 3 spot and he doesn't want it, and I got the 10, I could swap him. Last year, I think somebody paid $40 to swap out of like the 11 spot to the 5 spot or something like that. I can't remember what it was. So like you can trade this
2 spot.
Yeah, to the 2 spot.
Yeah, because he got Saquon.
Oh yeah, it worked out real well for him. $40 and he got Saquon.
Yeah,
good draft pick. So if you're in that situation, last year I was in the 3 hole, and I was very happy with the 3 hole. I got Zeke, and then obviously I had a bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I was very tempted to trade back. And my hot take is that my favorite draft spot is the end of the first. This year, it's a little bit different because there's so much value in that early 3rd round, where those first couple rounds, you can get some pretty good. So if you start in like the early first, you can get yourself like, let's say Kamara. And then on the turn, you could end up with like a Chris Carson and CEH type turn, or you could go, you can go Kamara, CEH, and then like CD Lamb or like an Allen Robinson or something like that, which is a nice start.
At the 2-3 turn, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But personally, I like the end of the first because I want as many top tier guys as you can get. And for personally, I think there's a lot of value to be had in those late round running backs that could easily make the jump up into the top 5. Like we talked about it already today, the 3 ADP guys was queued up perfectly for us. I love all those 3 guys, and I don't have the cojones to take an Austin Eckler at the 105. I don't. I got to take the big names, and I don't know why it is. If you have a feeling about a guy, take your guy. But it just makes it easier when I'm at the back end, and then I get in an extra really good player before anybody else does. Like the prime example right now is Travis Kelce. There's no chance I'm taking Travis Kelce at 105, but it's really tempting at the 110, 109, maybe 111. It's really tempting. Okay, so it makes your draft, prepping for the draft, a little bit harder because you don't necessarily know who your guy is, but you know you're guaranteed to take 2 of those guys in that range. And I want as many good early picks as I can get. And within the first 20, say even first 20 picks, first 18 picks, you're getting 2 of those, which sets you up for success. And then even in that like 4 or 5 turn, the 3-4 turn, my apology, when it's coming back, there's still some pretty good value in that 3-4 range too. Like we're talking about guys like Amari Cooper right now with the injury concerns. Looking at like Mark Andrews in the late 4th, in the 5th, maybe you want to take him a little bit early ahead of ADP just to claim your shot. There's running backs like Chris Carson that could slide. There's running backs like Montgomery that can slide. There's lots of value to be had there. So I think if you were to pick a position to draft out of, I think I would rather have the late first. Maybe not so much in a super flex, but in a single quarterback, I really, really like that late first round draft position. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree with me just because it's a lot of like crapshoots. Like last year, if you took Kenyon Drake with your 110 position, you were really chapped about that. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but you get more value, I think, there than any other draft positions.
I agree with that one. And you look at it, you can get Jones and Eckler at that position, both of them. Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler, boom, 2 number 1 RBs.
And then you hammer 2 like pretty good receivers in that 3-4 turn. You got a nice juicy start to your draft. You could end up with Julio Jones in, what is it, the 4th round? I think he's lined up in right now. Like if you get
close to that,
yeah, you can maybe end up getting like a Mari Cooper and Julio Jones, like as safe as it gets, and then kind of maybe an injury prone kind of gamble pick. But if Julio has any sort of like juice left him, like he has a lot, that's a pretty nice start. Like Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones,
reach for Thielen,
Mari
Lockett
Cooper
there too.
Yeah, like it's not a bad little position to be drafting out of in personally, especially with how early running backs are going off the board. There's no guarantee at the end of the 2nd round you're going to get a running back. Like all of the top 16 running backs can go like just in a row. Maybe you're a guy that wants to double down and stay level. You want to go running back receiver. Maybe you end up taking Tyreek Hill at 111, and then you get Austin Eckler at 202. Or maybe Devontae Adams slides. Like maybe your league is so RB heavy and you get Adams in the end of the 1st. That's extremely good value, right? So you can't prep for that because it's all like what's going to happen to you. You can take a lot of mock drafts so you know, okay, this guy goes, I have these guys available. You can do a little prep work, but I like that too because then it's a little bit of like uncertainty and you have a little bit more excitement if you can handle it come draft day.
Yeah, I took that spot last year in our school league, and I really liked having that spot. I just got unlucky with who my 2nd round.
Yeah, Chubb and Julio, right?
Yeah. And Julio was sadly injured most of the year, but had I had him all season long, that would have been a pretty formidable duo to start to have in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had to say your favorite draft position, just off the top of your head, so we'll go Zach first, then Armin. Favorite draft position, 12-team league. Where are you picking from?
This year, probably at 10, 11, 9, 10, 11.
Armin?
Yeah, I want to say like 10 because I don't like waiting as long for picks. But, like in that back end of the draft, definitely. I agree with you 100%, Jordan.
Yeah, I think I'm taking 10, 11 because you got to wait a little bit, but there's still, like I said, those top 16 picks, I think is kind of where you want to be. And if you're anywhere in that 10, 11, 12 spot, you're getting 2 of the top 16. So I think I agree at the 10 spot. It's a little bit of a wait. You got 6 picks, you pick, and then you got to wait 6 and you kind of hold your breath a little bit if one of those guys come back to you. So maybe even the 11 spot might be a little more juicy, but then you're always kind of waiting a little bit long. That's the problem is when you get to those late rounds in those spots, you kind of got to take your guys, right? Because you can't like play the game. Are they going to get back? They're probably not, because you're waiting at some points like 20 picks, right? Or 22 picks. They're probably not coming back to you. So
sometimes you have to reach and you got to be comfortable with that. Do your research if you're in those late spots or even in the early spots of the draft. Do your research, make sure you know who you want to reach for, because you will have to do some reaching for some of the guys you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything left to mention here, fellas, before they wrap this bad boy up? This was a fun one. I actually enjoyed this one. It came up on our ideas pretty late, and Zach approached us with this idea, and we're like, hey, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. And it's a different way of talking about lots of different players and lots of different draft positions. And you guys can obviously create your own ideas on these players, right? Just because we say we like or dislike them, you're making your own decisions. Obviously, we all had different opinions on certain players, why we liked them, why we didn't like them. And Armin's team he would draft is different than mine or different than Zach's, right? We all have our own opinions, and you kind of stand on the guys you like, but we obviously pitched 9 and then a rapid fire additional 6 at the end there for you to kind of ponder about at their ADP. And that's kind of the idea in this next couple of weeks as we get into the draft season, to give you some guys to think about and whether you want to take them. And it's just adding a little bit of prep to you guys to be successful in this upcoming season. So that'll do it for episode number 15. Next week, we'll be coming with episode number 16. We'll be looking at some breakout candidates, ADP guys that we're all over, and then to wrap up as well with our guys that we're putting our stamp of approval on that we will not leave the drafts without. So stay tuned for that one. And then also we'll be releasing the names of the people in our draft that episode as well, and kind of giving a little feature about those individuals as well too. So stay tuned for that. So same as usual, like and subscribe to us, hit the bell on YouTube, like and share our accounts on the podcast platforms on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, et cetera, and then obviously give us a like, share, follow on all of our social media platforms at 306 FFB. So on behalf of Armand and Zach and myself, the whole 306 football group here, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys on episode number 16. Take care, everybody. Talk soon.